Have you ever noticed how your mind can feel heavy even when your home is clean, organized, and completely quiet, as if your body is still but your thoughts just won't stop? You're not the only one. Even in Japan, where everything looks calm on the outside, anxiety and depression have been rising simply because the world has become too fast. But there is a Japanese philosophy that goes against the rush, the excess, and the need for control. It doesn't promise to erase what you feel. It teaches you how to breathe inside real life without having to run away, win, or pretend everything is fine. If you want to learn how to live with clarity, presence, and lightness, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. While the rest of the world pushes us to run, achieve, and accumulate, the Japanese seem to have learned how to reduce the weight that excess brings. They find peace where most people would see emptiness, and that's exactly what many of them defend as the antidote to anxiety and depression. And it's not a complicated philosophy, nor something impossible to apply. It's a way of living that seeks clarity, presence, and lightness. And it all begins with the space each of us creates. When we look at the Japanese lifestyle, it feels like there's a quiet logic behind every action. The way the house is arranged, the way they take care of their belongings, even the way they drink a simple cup of tea. Everything reflects one choice: keep what matters and let the rest go. And that choice changes everything, because the less noise there is outside, the more the mind can finally rest on the inside. Anxiety, which feeds on excess, starts to lose strength. Depression, which survives on a lack of purpose, begins to fade. Japan understood that balance doesn't come from control, it comes from letting go. And that's what we're going to talk about now. The philosophy that has shaped Japanese life for centuries and still teaches the world how to breathe, even when everything feels way too fast. We live surrounded by everything, all the time, endless notifications flashing on the screen, messages demanding a response, and that constant feeling that everyone else is moving faster than you. And when you try to keep up, it's like your body is here, but your mind is somewhere else entirely. The truth is, we've trained our brains to never rest. It's a routine disguised as progress, but all it really does is drain us. It doesn't matter if it's work, social media, goals, or commitments. Everything has turned into a never-ending race where there is no finish line. The day ends, and it still feels like you owe something. That's how anxiety settles in, disguised as productivity. Most people think the problem is a lack of time, but what's actually missing is silence. Silence to hear your own thoughts, to let your body breathe, to understand what truly matters. Constant noise has become normal, and the more we adapt to it, the farther we drift from our own peace. The Japanese understood this a long time ago. They don't try to fight chaos, they simply stop feeding it. While the rest of the world is chasing more, they choose to have less and live with only what really matters. And the interesting thing is, that choice isn't just practical, it's philosophical. Minimalism isn't about giving things up, it's about creating space. It's about bringing harmony between what's outside and what's inside. When you begin removing what you don't need, you start realizing that a lot of your anxiety wasn't emotional. It was visual. It was overstimulation. It was the weight of everything around you, constantly demanding attention. The clutter, the overload of colors, the noise, even the responsibilities that no longer make sense, all of it takes up the space where peace should be living. And that applies to everything. It applies to your home, your relationships, the way you think, and the way you react to the world. Because clutter doesn't only live in objects, it lives in poorly used time, in automatic responses, in the promises you make without meaning to. Japan didn't just simplify their belongings, they simplified the way they exist. They put intention into what's simple, depth into what's ordinary, presence into the smallest details. They learned that lightness doesn't come from doing less, but from doing what matters. That's why this philosophy makes so much sense in a world that's constantly trying to fill every second. While most people are desperate for more stimulation, Japan teaches the beauty of emptying. Because what's left when excess is gone is exactly what we've been looking for: peace. In Japan, minimalism isn't a trend, it's an essence. It was born from a worldview that believes balance comes from harmony between what you have and who you are. It's not about living with less just for the aesthetics, but about living with purpose. Every object, every gesture, every detail has a reason to exist. Nothing is there by accident. And the interesting part is that the simpler the environment is, the more the mind expands. The emptiness, the same emptiness so many people fear, becomes space to think, to feel, to simply be. To them, external disorder is just a reflection of internal confusion. When a home is at peace, the person living in it is too. And this connection is so real that organizing a space in Japan is almost a spiritual act. It's not just folding clothes or arranging shelves, it's caring for the spirit. It's honoring everything that is part of your life. They have a quiet respect for everything that enters their home. And when they decide to let something go, they do it with gratitude, not guilt. There's an understanding that everything that passes through our lives leaves a trace, fulfills a purpose, and deserves to be released without weight. And that's exactly what we often lack: intention. We do so many things on autopilot. We buy because it's cheap. We keep things just in case. We work without remembering why. We accumulate out of fear of not having enough. But the more we accumulate, the less we can see what really matters. The harder it becomes to recognize the value of what we already have. Japan teaches the opposite. Living well is choosing with awareness. It's understanding that every yes needs to be worth the space it takes. It's not about removing everything from your life. It's about allowing only what's essential to stay. And that mindset changes the way you see everything. Suddenly, simple stops meaning lack and starts meaning clarity. You start to realize that the essential isn't what's left after the excess is gone. The essential is what was always there, but you couldn't see it before. And that's where the idea of Japanese minimalism becomes powerful, not as a trend, but as a way of living. While the rest of the world rushes to have more, Japan moves slowly to feel more. While some people measure life by the amount of what they achieve, they measure it by the quality of their peace. It's a way of existing where everything has its time, its rhythm, and its intention. Homes reflect calmness, gestures reflect respect, and everyday life is lived with an almost poetic attention. Because to them, taking care of a space is taking care of the mind. Cleaning the floor is cleaning a thought. Folding clothes is organizing your mood. And that's why so many people around the world have been drawn to this lifestyle. Japanese minimalism doesn't promise instant happiness. It offers something deeper: steady tranquility, a kind of peace that doesn't depend on anything external, that grows from within and spreads into who you are and what you choose to keep. And that's where the real impact begins, not in the decor, not in the reorganized closet, but in the quiet feeling that your life finally fits inside you. When we start applying this philosophy to daily life, something truly shifts. And it's not the kind of change that makes noise. It's a quiet shift, almost invisible at first, but slowly it transforms the way you see everything. You wake up, and suddenly the space around you feels more breathable. Your eyes aren't tripping over so much information. Things start to have meaning again. And what used to feel urgent suddenly doesn't demand so much of you anymore. It's incredible how physical space affects emotional space. When there's less clutter outside, the body calms down. And when the body calms down, the thoughts stop fighting each other. You feel more whole, more present, more at peace with what's simple. And that state of presence is where lightness lives. Anxiety loses its grip because it no longer finds room to grow. The mind stops getting distracted by excess, and everything that used to feel overwhelming slowly starts to reorganize inside you. Depression, so often born from emotional buildup and the constant feeling of disconnection, finds comfort in the smallest gestures. Turning on a soft light, making your own coffee, listening to the sound of the wind. Japan has this way of turning the ordinary into a ritual. Drinking tea, cleaning a room, folding a shirt. Each action becomes a way of taking care of the mind without needing to say a word. These simple moments are almost like silent meditation. They are pauses that remind us to be present, to respect time, to reconnect with the now. And maybe that's the real secret. Doing less, but doing it with soul. Japanese minimalism doesn't ask you to live with almost nothing. It doesn't impose rules or demand perfection. It simply invites you to pay closer attention to what surrounds you and notice what truly deserves to stay. Once you understand that, the way you consume changes, the way you relate to people changes, the way you occupy space changes. Nothing is just appearance anymore. Everything has a reason to exist, and what doesn't simply leaves. At that point, minimalism stops being an aesthetic and becomes peace. Peace in the environment, peace in the gestures, peace in the choices. Because in the end, it's not about living with little, it's about living with purpose. And when that happens, you finally understand that simple doesn't mean empty. Simple is complete by nature. When you start removing what you don't need, you realize the weight was never in the objects, it was in the attachment. We've gotten used to carrying memories, belongings, worries, and even people who no longer fit inside our peace. Over time, all of that turns into a kind of noise, silent but constant. And the more we hold on, the harder it becomes to recognize what still has a real reason to stay. But no one finds lightness while holding on to what insists on being heavy. Letting go is what allows you to breathe. And maybe that's the reason so many people feel exhausted. We keep trying to keep alive cycles that have already ended. The Japanese live with that awareness every single day. To them, letting go isn't a loss. It's a form of respect for the natural cycle of things. Everything has its time, its purpose, its moment to stay, and its moment to leave. And when the time comes to release something, they let it go, not with sadness, but with gratitude. It's as if they're saying, lightness isn't about having less, it's about having space. And that space is exactly what so many people are missing in order to breathe again. When the mind is full, every thought becomes a burden. But when space appears, life starts to flow differently, quieter, clearer, more whole. Less noise, less anxiety, less control, more presence, more calm, more meaning. Peace doesn't show up when everything is solved. It shows up when you stop fighting what can't be changed. Japan understood this in the simplest way. Holding on to the old is what keeps the new from arriving. And that's why, for them, beauty lies in recognizing when something has already fulfilled its purpose. Japanese philosophy doesn't just change spaces, it changes souls. It teaches that simple isn't empty. Simple is what remains after everything false has been released. And silence, the one we avoid, was never absence. It has always been the beginning of everything. And if you feel like it's time to make room for what truly matters, write in the comments, I want more space for peace. Because peace isn't forced, it appears when you finally stop resisting. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.